Hello, and I'm Mallie, and I'm reviewing comics from my own collection. This is Green Lantern number 85. The story is called Snowbirds Don't Fly. We start off on the street where we see Oliver Queen walking. Some guys jump out and start attacking Oliver. One guy pulls out a crossbow and threatens Oliver Queen with it, and shoots him with the bow. Oliver crawls to the ground, trying to get help, but he can't get any. He finally makes it to a hospital where he collapses. He gets help. Oliver says that he recognizes the arrow that shot him. He asks for a phone. Oliver calls Hal Jordan and asks him to meet up at his house. Noticing the panic in his voice, Hal transformed into Green Lantern. At Oliver's place, as Green Arrow, he explains how normally the arrow wouldn't bother him because he leaves them all around all the time. But this is different because Oliver's ward Speedy has been missing for a month. Oliver admits that he hasn't paid much attention to Speedy lately and wants Green Lantern's help to find out what's going on. They head down to a basement where Oliver thinks he saw the muggers run to. Green Lantern and Green Arrow descend into the basement where they hear a druggie begging for more drugs. He's sobering up and the pain is getting too much for him. Green Arrow has to explain to Green Lantern what going cold turkey means and how the guy in the apartment must be a pusher. Green Lantern takes them all and starts to head to the hospital. Green Arrow asks the druggie about Speedy. We cut to a house with 3 teens in it. They're waiting for their friend to get back with drugs. They're all starting to go through withdrawal. 2 of them explain why they started using drugs. The ceiling of the building starts to turn green, and Green Lantern and Green Arrow appear. They try to run, but Green Lantern stops them. Green Arrow threatens to lock them up when Speedy asks Green Arrow if he's going to lock him up too. Green Arrow says he's not surprised to see Speedy there. Green Arrow says that he knew once Speedy disappeared, he knew that Speedy must be going undercover to get some bad guys. Green Arrow asks if they know who's behind the narcotics ring. One of the guys says he can show them. The guy says that he hates his habit and wants to put the people behind it in jail. Green Lantern takes the 2 druggies and takes off while Green Arrow tells Speedy to go home. Green Lantern tells Green Arrow that he doesn't have to be so tough on them. Green Arrow says that his heart doesn't bleed for junkies. The boys tell them that they've arrived. They're at a private airstrip. They're going to start looking for the guys in charge in the hangar. They burst into the hangar and find 2 men who are selling drugs. Green Lantern and Green Arrow beat them. However, one of the boys grabs a wrench and hits Green Lantern over the head with it, knocking him out. He then knocks out Green Arrow. One of the men suggests killing them, but the other has another idea. Give them drugs. They put drugs in their faces and they inadvertently breathed it in. The criminals were going to leave them there for the cops to find. For their help, the boys got drugs. As the cops showed up, so did Speedy. He gets the cops off the trail and goes to find Green Lantern and Green Arrow. He tries to wake up Green Lantern, but he's high on drugs. Speedy says that he bets Green Lantern can't even use his ring, but Green Lantern does. He creates a monstrous-looking Green Lantern that grabs the 3 of them. About to be eaten by the monster, Green Lantern realizes that that's him, and he creates a bubble to escape with Green Arrow and Speedy. Green Lantern talks about how he still can't understand why people take drugs. Speedy says that a young man may look up to an older man, but one day the older man leaves, running around the country with others and ignoring his young friend. The young man may look at drugs as a substitute for friendship. Leaving the house, Green Arrow states that Speedy's sob story makes him want to throw up. Green Lantern leaves. Coming back to the house, Green Arrow says he's going to make some of his special chili. However, as he walks in, he sees Speedy doing drugs. My opinion is that this comic is really good and held up well over time. It is seen as an anti-drug comic and the story still holds up today. Join me next time when we review part 2. They say it'll kill me, but they won't say when.